This little window seal or window place is one of Dex's favorite places in the whole house. He will spend a lot of time just laying on that table, and you can see the little footprints on that table, watching the neighborhood, the cats across the street. So I decided to enhance his experience and put in those hummingbird feeders. I'll tell you what, it is hours of endless entertainment for him and for me watching him. Hang on, let me take you outside and I'll show you what it looks like out there. So this is what it looks like from the front of the house. I had a pedestal from a bird bath that was left by the owner. It just was here kind of all tumbled when I showed up. So I took the bird bath part off and I'm just setting some flowers there right now. These are mums for the fall. And so I have 2 hummingbird feeders here. I went ahead and bought 2 of those hooks. I think they're called shepherd's hooks, and hung 2 feeders there. And I think I'm going to get some chimes for the lower feeder right down here. I think that'll be pretty to be able to sit in the living room and listen to the chimes. And you can see Dexy will plant his little self there quite often to watch the hummingbirds. There aren't any right now, but I do have some footage on my phone that I think I'm going to include here so you can see what it's like. It's so funny because the hummingbirds will fly up, see the cat in the window, and have ultimate confidence, breathtaking confidence that that cat cannot get through that screen. And they'll sit there and just take their time and take a big long drink, fly around, come back, sit down again. It really is quite the entertainment. Today we're doing Crowder peas. And you might ask me, what are Crowder peas? I don't know, I'm new here. I'm just going with the flow. If you think I go looking for the peas, I don't. There's a pea pusher at the farmer's market, honestly. He is the nicest guy. He comes with his son and he has this huge ice chest full of these packs of peas. Now apparently he grows the peas. He told me he just planted like 80 rows of some type of pea, and then his wife and his daughter shell the peas, and then he and his son come to the farmer's market on Saturday morning and sell them. And I'll tell you what, that man can sell peas like nobody's business. He makes them sound so good. So here's the story with the Crowder peas. First of all, he said this is his wife's favorite, and I don't know his name. I'm going to take my camera out there next time and show you who the pea pusher is. So he said that this is his wife's favorite pea, and then there was a woman there buying 2 bags of peas. Gosh, you know, she was one of those women that just was all put together, and she had her hair done and just looked fabulous. She must have been in her mid-70s, really sweet lady. And I asked her, how do you cook these? So I'm going to follow along with what she said and what he said and kind of put it in combination together. Anyway, she said she's been cooking these peas for 60 some odd years and she loves them. So I had to buy some. I am going to cook them today. Apparently it's going to take about an hour. And how I'm going to cook them is I'm going to first of all rinse them and pick through them to make sure that, you know, all I have in here is peas, not little critters and stuff. I know that he probably did that, but you know, it never hurts to do it on your own. That's protein I definitely don't need. Little bugs in my beans. And then I'm going to cover them with chicken broth, add some butter, and I'm going to add a little bit of lard that I got from Samari Farms. He sells lard and it just gives such a rich, deep flavor. And then I'm going to salt and pepper them towards the end of the cooking process. The little gal I talked to said it took her about 45 minutes to cook her peas, so I'll be watching around the 45-minute mark. Anyway, Crowder peas, who knew? Here are the cooked Crowder peas. You can see they turn brown after you cook them, and actually the guy told me that, that this was gonna happen. So interesting, I cooked them in chicken broth with a half a stick of butter, and then I added salt and pepper towards the end. If you have a recipe that you love for Crowder peas, make sure you let me know. The Crowder beans are done, and you can see they turn brown when you cook them. I cooked mine in chicken broth with about 1/4 of a stick of butter, maybe half a stick. I like butter. At the end of the cooking, which was about 45 minutes, I seasoned them with salt and pepper. Then I put them in the refrigerator overnight because I think it just helps the flavors to develop and meld, and it just is a much richer, deeper experience to eat something that has sat for a little bit and just developed the flavors. What I can say is that these actually remind me a little bit of garbanzo beans. Not only is the shape very similar, but they have that kind of toothy texture, their garbanzo bean texture. The flavor itself, first of all, they're really good. The flavor itself is very earthy and rich and deep. The purple whole peas that I was so in love with had a little bit more of a combination of high notes and low notes. I know that sounds a little bit out there, but that's kind of how I think about food. This is a very deep noted dish. In other words, it's rich, it's earthy, really delicious. And when you're eating foods that are grown locally without spraying, you're getting so much more nutrition than anything you're going to find at the grocery store. Based on my taste, the way that I think I would enjoy these beans the most is by adding maybe some chopped kale or chopped mustard greens, one of those deep mineral rich greens, to add into my beans and then eat it that way. I think that would be absolutely delicious. And I do have some organic kale that I just bought from the grocery store. That's how I'm going to fix this for dinner tonight. So Crowder beans, yet another find here in the South. Haven't tried them. Now I know what they're like. They're delicious, deep, rich, very earthy flavor. The Dixie Belle paint has come in, so today is the day I'm going to start painting this rather tragic chair. Well, the day has come, and I'm going to start painting this chair today, and I want to go in with a few acknowledgments. First of all, I acknowledge this chair looks a little tragic with the finish that it has on it. If you don't agree, that's fine. I understand. We all have different tastes. The second thing I want to acknowledge is I understand this could turn out to be a disaster. We just don't know, and I don't know until I do it. The color I'm going to paint it is an off-white, kind of a very cool toned cream color. I think it's going to make the chair look really cool. That's what I think. That remains to be seen. I'm actually going to turn the chair upside down and start painting the back just in case there's a learning curve as far as the strokes or putting the paint on. If there's any errors in the paint application, I want it to be on the back of the chair where I can learn, and then the front of the chair, I will take that knowledge forward and do it a little bit better. I'm actually going to use some sponge brushes for this because I think that a bristle brush might show brush marks. I don't know that for sure, and I might end up changing to a bristle brush. I'll just have to wait and see. But wish me luck. I'm going to dive in. I think it's going to be cool, but we'll find out together. Okay, I found out right away. I don't like this as a tool, so I'm going to go ahead and get my bristle brush and give that a whirl. Bristle brush, much better. So here's how it's looking after the first coat. And I'll tell you that paint went on really, really easily. I am not sure if one of the claims they make about this paint is that it's self-leveling, but it certainly seemed to have that quality. So based on this first coat, I'm thinking it's going to be a 3-coat job. This took me, gosh, about a half an hour. Went pretty quickly. The second and the third coats will go even faster than that. So I'm going to let it dry down really good so I'm not disturbing that layer when I go back over with the second layer. I just got back from the grocery store and I did fruit shopping. The reason I was at the grocery store for fruit instead of at the farmer's market is that the local fruit is waning right now. The peaches are done, the figs are done, that sort of thing, and I need my fruit. I eat a lot of fruit. So I've been going to the market to get sourced fruit from different parts of the country and probably different parts of the world as well. And one of the things I picked up was this little basket, actually it's a plastic tub of strawberries. Now let's take a look at this strawberry. Red, plump, gorgeous, smells just like a strawberry should smell. It looks just so very yummy, doesn't it? Am I going to eat this? No way. This little baby is a toxic gut balm. And I'm not kidding you. This little piece of fruit is so chocked full of pesticides and chemicals and toxins. It has earned its way again to the top of the list of the dirty dozen. Isn't that a shame? This little guy is so very beautiful and even smells nice. Now, what is the Dirty Dozen? The Dirty Dozen is something that I follow every year. There is the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. They do testing to find out which fruits and vegetables have the highest level of pesticides, and they let you know which ones they are. This little strawberry has made the top of the list since I've been following the list. Before you think I'm this great eater, that I've always had a clean diet, let me be very clear. I spent most of my life being absolutely obnoxious about clean eating and organic foods. I thought the whole thing was a scam. I did eye rolls until I cricked my neck. I just dismissed the whole topic, as most humans do, unless that topic is impacting them. We seem to not get it until it becomes a personal issue. How I got aware of organic foods and really how important they are was when I was living in Montana. I made a friend who was a nutritionist. She'd written some books. She really knew what she was talking about. I met her at a party. I said to her, because like you do, when you have a nutritionist in front of you, you ask them questions. I said, I am heavy. I can't seem to get rid of it. I don't know what to do. Can you give me some suggestions? And she said, you're not fat. You have leaky gut syndrome. And I was like, oh no, and I've told this story before. I don't want a syndrome. I am not interested in health problems, so I am not buying into any syndrome. So I was a little bit distressed about that, but I did say to her, tell me more. And she did. Long story short, what I found out is that what was in the foods we were eating was really impacting the way my body looked. And I'm going to talk about a topic right now that's a little bit sensitive, but I'm going to use myself as the example because that's the truth, really. When I was talking to that gal, not only was I heavy, and I mean I was carrying more weight than I usually did, but what I looked like was swollen. And I think that if you haven't noticed this in our society yet, now that I'm bringing it up, you're not going to be able to unsee it. What I had was a puffiness over my entire body that kind of transcended puffiness to a very swollen look. And when I look back now, I can see it so very clearly. But when I was in the middle of it, I just thought I was getting heavier, and this is what happens. What I see now that I have cleaned up my diet and I'm not as swollen and puffy as I was, is I see it in other people around me. Everywhere I look, I see people who are heavy, or that's how we would categorize them. But when I really look at their bodies, they look swollen. And you know what? They are. Our food system has become so toxic and so filled with chemicals and GMOs and other things that our bodies can't utilize and are so bad for our bodies. And it happened a little bit over time. You know, a convenience food like Bisquick, when my grandmother was spending 6-7 hours a day in the kitchen trying to feed the family, Bisquick was a great gift to her. It meant hours that were freed up for her. It has gone from convenience to being systemic through our entire food system. And when I walk into a grocery store now, I look around and what I see is 95% of what's in that store is not food. It is a chemically processed, bastardized version of something that started with a nutritious element. But where it ends up in the grocery store is so far away from how it was meant to be taken in by our bodies. Now, I thought the whole organic thing was a big scam. I had no patience for it, but I learned over time that there really was a difference when I ate organic as compared to when I didn't eat organic. Here is the basket of strawberries that is chock full of pesticides and chemicals and all kinds of nasty things you don't want in your body. This is from Driscoll. Here is the organic version of the strawberries from Driscoll. This was $2.99. This was $3.99. So $1 difference between the two, which I find curious because this has more chemicals on it. This has less chemicals on it. At least that's what we hope. When I talk about buying organic and eating organic, it's not necessarily that I think organic is the be-all end-all. I think there probably are a lot of loopholes and a lot of things that we wish weren't happening with organic foods in the grocery store. But what I have learned is that it is not so much that this is for perfect health, it's that the other version is so very toxic. So I buy organic food because the non-organic is a gut bomb. It is so toxic, it leads to that puffiness, that swollenness, just ill health, and we can see it across our nation. Another big eye-opening moment for me was when I saw a crowd picture, a picture of a crowd at the beach from the 1960s. I looked at that picture and I just went, oh my gosh. Everyone looked so thin, so fit, just glorious in their bathing suits. If you took a picture of a crowd scene at the beach right now, it would not look like that. I can almost guarantee you that 80-85% of the people in that picture would look fat, or what I call swollen and puffy. So the next question is, why is there this type of food on the shelves in every market in this country? And the answer is profit. It has nothing to do with your health, and it has everything to do with corporate profit. The more they spray these strawberries with pesticides and chemicals and other toxic ingredients, the higher the yield and the prettier looking the strawberries, and the more money they can make by picking them and packaging them in this awful plastic container and selling it to you as food. And it's not healthy food, not even a little bit. We think we're living in a democracy. We're not. We're living in a corporatocracy where corporations have absolutely taken over and put profits in front of health. Right now, and I saw a news show on this, I think last night or the night before, there is an Amish farmer who sells organic dairy products and meats on his farm. His family has been in business on that farm for decades. Well, guess what? The government is investigating him and trying to shut him down. They can't legally shut him down, so they have just mounted so many fines on him, over $300,000 now, so that he literally cannot afford to move forward with his business. Now, why are they doing that? You might say to protect the public health, and that's what they would tell you, to protect the public health. Oh, really? Then why is this on the shelf? The reason they're doing that is if we start having individual farms and ranches where we can go and get sustainably grown, grass-fed meats, free-range chicken, unpasteurized raw milk products, guess what that does? That cuts corporate profit. And that just cannot happen. We've really gotten to a very sad place in our country in a lot of ways. Today, we're talking about the food system. We trust these agencies to make sure that what's on the shelves is actually good for us. And you know what it's actually good for? Corporate profit. It has nothing to do with our health anymore. What I do when I'm buying fruits and vegetables in the grocery store is I really rely on organic products or products from the Clean 15. Now, what are the Clean 15? The Clean 15 are those foods that have been identified to have the lowest pesticide load. And when I say the lowest, we are going to be eating pesticides in almost everything we find in the produce department of the grocery store. That's why buying from the farmer's market is my first choice, because I find the farmers who don't spray. And I love the farmers who say, I am so allergic to that stuff, I can't use it because I know they're not going to put it in the food that they're going to eat. So my first choice is to grow your own. If you have the space, and you don't need much space to grow your own food, you can grow even some carrots or something, or go to the farmer's market. If I end up in a position where I'm looking for fruits or vegetables from the grocery store, I'm going to select items from the Clean 15 or organic. Is it as good as homegrown or a grower at the farmer's market who doesn't spray? Not in my opinion. I think the very best fruits and vegetables are natural. In other words, they're grown without toxic chemicals. These I just picked up at the grocery store when I did my shopping. I get mangoes because they're on the Clean 15. I love mangoes. And I also always get organic apples. I love apples. I eat a lot of fruit, sometimes several servings a day. So I have to be very, very careful that the fruit or vegetables that I'm eating are as clean as possible. So I think it's been established that our food supply is probably not designed to keep us healthy. It's designed to keep the profit lines of the corporations healthy. So what can we do? In my opinion, and this is my opinion, and I've thought about it quite a bit, there are two things that I focus on. The first is awareness. Without awareness, we're just going to keep following the lies and the baloney about the healthfulness of the food that is in our food chain. Awareness of what's in our food, awareness of where it was grown, awareness of what it can really do for our body. There have been studies done that a lot of the fruits and vegetables that are available in the produce departments have zero nutrition. Zero. They have been grown in dead soil, fertilized with chemical fertilizers, sprayed to death with toxic pesticides, and by the time it gets to you, all it does is fill your stomach up. It doesn't actually give your body the nutrients that you need. So awareness is number one in my book, being super aware of what I'm eating. The second in my two-prong approach is not to fight. I have no interest in fighting. What I do is I just disengage. Completely just turn around and walk away. What would happen if these little toxic bombs sat on the shelf and nobody bought them? Guess what? They'd go away. Or Driscoll and the other companies that produce these strawberries, I won't say grow because it's so far away from growing healthy foods what they're doing these days, they would have to change their tune. We need to vote with our dollars. So if these sat on the shelf and everyone said no, if the Cheez-It Puffs sat on the shelf and everybody said no, if the frozen pizza that is filled with, I can't even list how many chemicals and preservatives sat on the shelf and nobody bought it, guess what? Things would change. I think it's absolutely a giggly idea. Could you imagine going into the grocery store and when you got to the produce department, it was all your local growers and they had their little stands, just like the farmer's market, and they had kale and they had fruit and they had broccoli and cauliflower and all the things that you can grow at home in a much more healthful manner. Could you imagine if that was at the grocery store? I think it would be delightful. Personally, I feel like one of the wisest things that we could do as a civilization is to turn every single fast food store, and I mean every single one, into an organic fruit and vegetable stand, locally grown. I think the health of our country would just start turning around, and that would be a wonderful thing. So now you know a little bit of what I know, and I certainly don't know the whole story. I know enough to know that eating something that is filled with pesticides and chemicals and preservatives is not the best thing for my body. I lived it. I was that swollen, puffy person. And I'll tell you, once I started cleaning up my diet, I actually added ion biome to my diet as well. It used to be Restore, now it's ion biome. And that helps the junctures of your gut to stay tighter, because regardless of how hard we try, there's going to be pesticide residue in our bodies because it's systemic in our system. I think they recently did a study and it was something like 85% of the test subjects had pesticide residue in their bodies. It is systemic. We need to start turning things around, and we can do that two ways: awareness and just walking away from little gut bombs like this. A couple of weeks ago, I watched a video here on YouTube by Lisa D. If you're not familiar with her, she's really fun. I'll tell you what is so great about Lisa D. I don't think I've met another female in my life, and clearly I haven't met her. I just follow her on YouTube from time to time. Anyway, what I can say about her is she enjoys being a woman more than anybody I can remember. She absolutely loves being female, which makes watching her really fun. I don't watch many fashion and beauty videos right now. I'm mostly watching decorating, home decorating videos. So this was kind of a rare thing. The reason I clicked on the video was because it said something like, if you're mature, you need these jeans, or perfect jeans for the mature woman or something. Anyway, I clicked on the video and here's what happened. And what she was talking about are these jeans. And obviously I was influenced and I went ahead and bought them. These jeans are actually from Talbot's, and I believe they're called the stovepipe jeans. I don't know, you guys. I read it like 7 minutes ago and now I'm not sure. So I went ahead and picked them up because she loved them so much. Now, Lisa D is very tall and very thin. She looks beautiful in clothes. I am not tall and I'm average. I'm not heavy, I'm not skinny, I'm just average. So these are a size 10. Now, for your reference, I am 5 feet 6 inches tall and I weigh right now about 154 pounds. So these are what the 10s look like on me. And I'll have to tell you, I really like them. I am not a huge fan of jeans. There's just something about wearing jeans that can be really uncomfortable, but these are good. If I'm going to wear jeans, I think these are going to be my winter favorites. They have a little bit of stretch in them. You can see they're not tight on the legs. I am so over those skinny jeans where it just feels like you've got something sucking on your body from top to bottom. Ugh, those are just awful. The other thing I like about these jeans is the length. I like the fact that they're right above my ankles because I think it's just a good look. So let me see if I can turn around and give you guys a little bit of the back. The back is cute. They feel comfortable. I'm really liking them. Now, when I purchased them, they were on sale. I don't know if they're going to be on sale now or not, but if you're looking for a pair of winter jeans, these are good. I like them. I like the fact that, they have a little bit higher waist. They're comfortable. I like the stovepipe design of the legs. So everything about these jeans, I'm really liking. Not that jeans are my favorite thing to wear. They're just not. But if I'm going to wear jeans, I want them to look good and feel comfortable. By the way, this shirt, isn't this shirt cute? This shirt is actually gorgeous in person. This is from the boutique in Eureka Springs from my little gals that are friends down there. It's called Christopher's. And they just sent me this shirt. This is a Johnny Was t-shirt. It is made of bamboo. And here's what I want to say about this t-shirt. If you like the t-shirt styling and the ease of wearing a t-shirt, but you like quality, this is the ticket. These are a little more spendy, but oh my gosh, I feel like they're just beautiful. Very, very soft, hardly wrinkle, great styling, and I just think it's a really cute look. So this is my little fashion show for this week. My stovepipe jeans from Talbot's and my Johnny Was bamboo t-shirt. Today, I want to share with you a little recipe I cooked up actually a couple of weeks ago. It was the first time I had made it, and I sort of just made it up a little bit. And it's all based on green tomatoes. The reason I want to share this today is because I think that a lot of us are going to be either having green tomatoes in our garden or seeing them at the farmer's market, because the season is changing and we're not getting as much sunlight as we were in August, and the tomatoes might sit there green for a long time. I actually picked these green tomatoes up from a little gal at the farmer's market who I buy from all the time. For this recipe, you're going to need some green tomatoes, and it doesn't really matter how green they are. The last time I cooked this recipe, some of the tomatoes were still green and some had started to turn red. They were equally as delicious. So green tomatoes today, I'm using 3, some fresh garlic, creamy goat cheese, some good bread. This is some bread that I picked up from the farmer's market. It's a rosemary, garlic, olive oil bread. Sounds delicious to me. And then olive oil. The first thing I'm going to do is prepare the tomatoes. Now I'm starting this recipe earlier in the day because the tomatoes are going to take quite a while to cook. I'm preheating the oven to 200 degrees, so it's a very slow oven. Now I'm going to just prep the tomatoes for a slow roast. So I'm going to core them at the top. Take out that little core right there. Then I'm just going to cut off a little bit of the bottom, and I'm going to cut it in half and place those halves in the pan half size up. Now, one thing I forgot to do, and I'm going to do really quickly, is just pour a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of that dish just to prevent those tomato pieces from sticking. So now I have a nice greasy base on my dish. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. Now that I have my tomatoes all lined up in the dish, I'm just going to drizzle them with olive oil. And I'm going to place them in that 200-degree oven for 2 to 3 hours. I realize 2 to 3 hours, there's a big difference there. The way you're going to tell when they're done is when they're very, very soft to the touch. So you can just touch them with a fork while they're in the oven and see if they've got that kind of very soft texture that gives way to pressure. So off these go into the oven, and I'll check back with you in a few hours. I've pulled the tomatoes out of the oven. I cooked mine for 2.5 hours. So what I'm looking for is a tenderness towards the outside of the tomato, and it's still a little bit of tooth on the inside because you want a little bit of that tomato, firmness in there as well. Now I'm going to season the tomatoes. And one of the things I want to show you is this new salt that I found. I actually found out about this on a homesteading channel, and it is Redmond Real Salt. It's ancient fine sea salt. I think I just got this off of Amazon, but apparently it has all those trace minerals that we're really looking for in our salt. So I've been using this and really liking it. So I'm going to salt the tomatoes very generously and add a little bit of pepper. I wish I had some ground pepper. I don't have a pepper grinder right now that I like. So I'm just using this, pre-prepared pepper, which is not actually my favorite. And then I have pressed 10 cloves of garlic. I know that sounds like a lot, but the universe I live in, there is never too much garlic. You can adjust the garlic to however you like it. So what I'm going to do before that garlic goes in is I'm going to cut up these tomatoes. So I'm just going to start really dicing them up, and it doesn't really matter, how it looks. You just want them diced into small little pieces. Oh, and the smell is so delicious. Yum. So they're still really hot. So you want to do this when they come right out of the oven because you want that heat in those tomatoes. And I'm going to show you why in just a minute. And as you dice them, you're going to see that the juice from the tomatoes is going to start coming out into the pan, which is really going to help with the flavoring. Now that I have them all diced up, I'm going to take that garlic and put it into the mixture. And the reason that I want to do this now is I want the heat from those tomatoes to cook that garlic just a little bit and really temper down that hot spiciness of the garlic and make it a little bit more mellow. So I'm going to mix this in all together, and I'm just going to let it sit here and marinate and have that garlic from the warmth of the tomatoes mellow out just a little bit and meld with the flavor of the tomatoes. So I'm going to let this sit, and I'll be back in just a few minutes, and we'll put together our little yummy treat. So my tomatoes and garlic have been hanging out together for a little while and had a chance to kind of share their flavors back and forth. I'm going to show you now how I use this mixture. I think there's an endless way you could use these roasted green tomatoes. What I have been doing is toasting a little bit of bread, and this is bread that I got from the farmer's market. And here's why I bought this bread. I want to read you guys something. These are the ingredients: flour, water, olive oil, rosemary, garlic powder, sugar, salt. That's it. What's missing? All the preservatives and other things that you find in the grocery store bread. That's why I bought this bread, because it's just a clean bread. So I went ahead and just toasted the bread in a pan. I don't have a toaster, so I just toasted it in a little skillet. Now I'm going to take my goat cheese, and I actually let mine sit out on the counter for a few minutes so that it gets nice and soft. And I'm just going to slather that all over this yummy rosemary bread. And then I'm going to add my tomato and garlic mixture, and I'm ready to go. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. This is so good. The roasted tomatoes, along with the garlic, along with the goat cheese and the bread, it is so very yummy. So if you have green tomatoes, or if you found green tomatoes and you don't know what to do with them, give this a whirl. I think you might love it. The chair has been painted with 3 coats of the Dixie Belle paint in the color drop cloth, both front and back. It actually went pretty quickly. I would say that each coat took maybe 25 minutes to do the front and the back. The paint goes on very nicely. It almost acts like a self-leveling paint. In other words, there's just really very few brush marks, if any. You'd have to really look for them. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the chair outside, and I'm going to very lightly sand it with this very fine 220 grit. This is a sanding sponge. Then I'm going to wipe it down really well and get any dust particles from the sanding off the chair. And then I'm going to seal it. This is also a Dixie Belle product. This is Easy Peasy Wax, and it's actually a spray wax. I got the clear matte. So I'm going to seal the chair with this, and I should be all done and ready to put it into my living room. My final thoughts on painting this chair is that it worked so well. I'm really so surprised. It was super easy. The paint is amazing. It really goes on beautifully, almost self-leveling, just really a nice product to work with. It's Dixie Belle paint. I'll go ahead and have it listed down below. I think the chair looks fabulous. I thought it would look cool, and in my mind it looks very cool. I love the fact that it looks a little bit more modern with this off-white kind of eggshell color, and I can style it in a myriad of different ways. It's a very versatile piece now. It was a lot of fun. It's super easy to do. I would recommend it if you have a piece of furniture that you feel like doesn't have the finish that you want. You might look into painting it. It was a really cool little DIY. I want to thank you so much for joining me. You know, it just tickles me when you take a few minutes out of your day to spend it with me. I appreciate that. and I appreciate you. If you enjoyed today's vlog, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.